You know this, we all know this, that the beginning and ending of every day is in the bathroom, right? But what we're seeing now across the industry, and the data confirms it, is that the clients who are investing in their homes at the highest levels right now are thinking about their bathrooms differently. They want a space that supports how they train, how they recover, how they sleep. Steam and sauna are central to this, and Mr. Steam is the only brand that has spent more than 100 years focused entirely on steam. And they've built everything you need to bring this conversation to your client with confidence. Start out with their Performance and Recovery Guide. It is a great start point to get you thinking. It is a great guide to use in your conversations for your next project. To get yours for free, go to luannigara.com/Mr. Steam. That's luannigara.com/Mr. Steam. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome back to A Well-Designed Business. Today is another in my In Good Company series, the CEO Conversations with Kate O'Hara. Now, before we get into it, I want to take a moment to welcome a new sponsor to the show, Mr. Steam. Mr. Steam has been making steam since 1917. And if you have clients who are serious about how they physically feel, you know, the ones who train, the ones who travel with a foam roller and exercise bands, who are up early and are intentional about their health, steam and sauna at home is a natural next step for this demographic. Mr. Steam has a tool called the Virtual Spa Tool, where you, as an interior designer, you can enter your shower dimensions, wall materials, and your client's wish list, and it hands you a complete specification with list prices. No account required. Go check it out. Go to luannigara.com/Mr. Steam. The link will also be in the show notes. Now, if you have been listening for a while, you know my girl Kate. She has been a recurring guest in this podcast since 2016 and the last couple of years in these CEO conversations. And I'm always glad when she comes back to the podcast with me. Since the last time Kate was on, there have been some meaningful changes in her life and business. Kate and her mother, Martha, made the decision to close O'Hara Interiors after 4 decades in business. If you know anything about O'Hara Interiors, you know what a big decision this was. It was not made lightly, and it was not made without purpose. A family health situation brought things into focus in a way that only that kind of moment can. And when you look honestly at everything on the plate, the time, the energy, what each thing requires of you and of the people you love, sometimes the most strategic thing you can do is to let something go, even something you built, even something that matters deeply. So what Kate did is actually not so different from the evaluation that we're going to hear her talk about today in this episode. She looks at the whole picture. She made a clear-eyed decision about what stays and what goes, her consulting work, her speaking. Those were already in motion, and she can carry them and knew she could. O'Hara Interiors requires both her and her mother fully present, and some things matter more. It's as simple as that. So today, you are hearing from Kate O'Hara, former CEO and creative director of O'Hara Interiors, now a speaker, a business strategist to the design industry, and the new co owner of the Design Influencers Conference alongside our other good friend of the podcast, Nicole Heimer of Glory and Brand. If you want to stay connected to see what she and Nicole are building, go to designinfluencersconference.com. Get your name on that email list because the conference is coming March 2027, and you want to be the first to know all the speaker lineup, when the tickets are available, the location, all the things. Now, the other thing I want to say before we get to Kate is this is part two. Part one was episode 1188, and it came out a couple of months ago. You do need to go there first. I don't often like to make you stop what you're doing now and do a different thing and click because I know I risk losing you. But the thing is, in that conversation, Kate broke down the 3 paths forward when you are ready to scale a design firm that is already running well. Do you hire more support so you can stay client-facing? Do you develop a designer on your team to lead projects independently? Or do you build a true multi-designer firm with full leadership infrastructure? Each path has real pros and cons, and Kate lays them all out clearly. That episode is the foundation that this one is built on. You will find that episode linked in the show notes. So if you missed it, don't tell me about it because I don't need to know. But go back and listen to it and then come right back here. All right. Now, if you have already listened, you know that everything in today's episode assumes you have created capacity, that you have chosen your path and built the space to grow. Today, we talk about what you do with that space, what truly drives revenue versus what is really PR, and how to run every new idea like a CEO level experiment, and the 2-track method Kate uses to pursue quick wins while building the bigger play at the same time. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. Hey, Kate, thanks so much for joining me back on A Well-Designed Business.
Hi, Luann.
Kate, today we decided in our CEO conversation, we're going to talk about when a design entrepreneur, a design CEO starts to think about ways they might diversify. So there's diversifying time, energy, there's diversifying resources, there's making diversified income streams. All we can take it in all the different ways. And I'm just going to, again, just set the stage by saying I'm making an assumption that if you're looking to diversify, and to my point, you'll mention some of the different ways we can do that. We've already mastered the running of the business. We've already got our systems in place and we have got our profit margins in place. And we are saying, hey, that either took me, a year or 10 years to learn how to ensure that I have a stable business that has a healthy profit margin and I make a good income from. And now I want to diversify because to me, I don't need 3 things that I do stupid, right? Like that's just crazy pants. So I'm going to go with the assumption that we've got that locked down. But then what are some of these ways that you and your colleagues and the people that you speak to have considered diversifying their businesses and for what reasons? Because I think one goes with the other.
Well, I'm very glad to be here today to get to talk about this because I feel like this comes up a lot and I get a lot of questions about it. And, some of the ways that a business might diversify are kind of like the things that get designers really starry-eyed, but might not actually contribute as much as you would expect to the bottom line. I've never met a designer who didn't want to have a licensing agreement, a book deal, an HGTV show, or a Netflix show, and maybe a podcast to top it all off. And those are, frankly, every one of them pretty time-consuming to do in different ways, and surprisingly. Not as like revenue focused as simply running a great business.
That's right.
Now, that doesn't mean that those things can't make you a lot of money. There are designers out there who have made entire careers out of product design and licensing agreements and who have become fabulous podcasters or who have had really successful books or who have really like nailed the speaking circuit and or become pretty TV famous and gone on to do bigger and even grander things. But I'm not talking about
Right,
the,
the
you know,
unicorns.
the unicorns, yeah. In general, what we hear about these things is they take a lot of work, and they need to be seen as the passion projects that they are, because you can't think like that, can't like a um, starting a podcast, and you might have something to say about this, Luann, but starting a podcast probably shouldn't be the business plan. Going on HGTV probably shouldn't be the business plan.
Right,
It is a thing that you can try. It's an experiment, and that's something I think maybe it may be my main point here that I'm making, is that when you're diversifying, each moment of diversification is an experiment.
yeah,
You are trying something new, and hopefully you're not hanging everything on this thing's success. Ideally, you have, as you've said, a strong core business, and you're not letting your eye off that ball, because
right,
that is the business that needs to keep going and going well. And it can't keep going and going well without at least a good bit of your attention.
right,
So yeah, so there are a lot of ways to diversify. They're not always and well beyond the things that I've listed. But I think when most people are getting started and they're thinking about diversifying, the first thing people tend to think about is their services. So there are ways to diversify services.
mhm,
Um, from perhaps you're really heavy into construction and you want to start offering furniture, or you're really heavy into product sales but you want to start doing more kind of design fee type services that are going to be more focused on construction, remodel, and so on, where you don't have costs of goods, you don't have product that you have to monitor and have to deal with warranties and customer service. Those can be really nice ways um, to diversify, because they're two very different types of income. Design fee, you might not be able to hit the scale that you can with furniture when you're doing things on a more hourly like basis, even if that's not how you're billing. But that's generally income stream that you can count on a little bit more. You kind of have the contract, you know exactly when the payments are coming in, you control when you do the work on those things. And like I say, it's a little less risky because there's less cost of goods and potential product issues associated with those. And then on the other hand, what designer doesn't like to sell furniture? Because, in the same day that you can only bill so much time, you might be able to sell, well into the six figures of furniture. And how fun is that? But that comes with a lot of back end work, right?
right,
Because now we have to place the orders, track the things, and deal with all the issues that come along the way, and make sure that we've hit our margins.
yeah,
So diversifying services from those standpoints is kind of like early steps one,
yes,
usually one or two. And then people start to get a little bit creative. Maybe they're doing styling packages. Maybe they're thinking about ways to, like, oh gosh, holidays tend to be slow, we're going to start doing some holiday decor packages for people. We're going to put together some virtual design packages. We're going to maybe bring an architect in house, and that's a bigger step, that
mhm.
maybe you become an architect and design firm. um, Whole other set of insurance needs. Just putting that little flag out there. Talk to your attorney. But these are things that some businesses do. Others find, like, gosh, we spend a lot of time in the summer or winter in another location, and I get a lot of questions there. And I did a project for this family friend, and now I'm doing a project for another family friend, and I really like going there. I mean, that's how our Austin office began. We started in Minnesota. You can hear it in my voice every time I say Minnesota. And but we have family. I grew up in Dallas, and have a lot of family in Texas, and so we were doing a lot of projects there. And come winter, when we were going down to Austin, no one was really excited to get back on the plane to Minnesota where, snow is 5 feet deep and the wind chill can, freeze your hair to icicles. So we decided, let's open an office here. There seems to be a lot of interest. And that was one of our first moments of diversifying,
Mm,
was basically saying, hey, we're going to run two locations. And that came with major operational considerations.
right.
It was, there were capital investments involved. There, like, who's running things when we're not there? How do you go about it? So there was a lot of conversation that led to the decision to give it a shot.
Hmm.
And now we have locations in Austin and Dallas in addition to Minnesota. And it does get easier, when you open that third office, because at least you've done it once before. You've made so many mistakes along the way that you can skip forward a little bit. And that is a very legitimate type of way to diversify. I think diversification of services and diversification of locations are probably two of the more common things
Yes.
that people start to do, aside from like the more passion project things that sound probably more promising than they really typically are going to deliver to the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love what you're saying because when we think about diversification in services, to your point, maybe I am accustomed to and I've always done construction and work with builders, but I haven't added furniture service, furniture packages and selling furniture. So it's going to that. I
Hmm.
meet a lot of designers. How do I've delivered the house, but how do I get the furniture, right? And then the other
Hmm.
way, I'm doing all the furniture, but I don't rarely rarely get called in from ground up. Like somebody else has designed all the hardscapes, right? Um, I know we see that we just did a lunch and learn at Window Works a month or so ago where we had kitchen and bath designers, and Sharon Sherman was here, and she's been on the podcast before, talking about how you can be a kitchen and bath designer and you don't have to leave all just the furniture, the lighting, the fixtures, and the stuff off the table that client is eventually going to use to round out that space, or you can, right? So I love
Hmm.
that these ideas, they are ways to your point, diversify your services, and they all theoretically, if they're done well, they're going to add revenue. They're going to have an ROI. These are clear paths to ROI. Whereas if we talk about those other ways that you mentioned, whether it's getting on a TV show or writing a book or starting a podcast or a licensing deal or a product design or being a social media influencer and stuff like that, these are these are like whenever somebody tells me they wanna do these things, I'm like, "Why? What's the why
Hmm.
behind it?" Because if somebody
Yeah.
says, "I have previously done design for construction, and I've never sold a I have been part of 3 dozen beautiful homes being delivered to a client, and I've not sold a single sofa." I'm like, "Yes, sweetie, we can, like, make a lot of money here. If you have the infrastructure in your business and you've educated yourself on sourcing or you're willing to hire that or whatever it is." But my point is, I get that. Like, we can make more money
Hmm.
there. You're already in the door, let's keep going. But when somebody's like, "I wanna start a podcast," or "I wanna have a licensing deal," or "I wanna, have a coffee table book," I'm like, "Why?" Like, I'm
Hmm.
okay, but you gotta have a why for me. You gotta have an answer to the why,
Yeah.
because it's not a
And they're
moneymaker on its own. It's not.
right. They are, more often than not, they're PR
Yep,
activities, and they need to be viewed that way.
yep,
They could be revenue contributors, and they could even be significant down the road if you really hit the jackpot. But at the at its outset, it's, in the same way, like if you have an opportunity to do a show house,
yeah,
you're not doing that because you're going to make money.
no,
You're doing that because you're going to get attention to your company.
right. It's
And
marketing.
that's what a lot of those
Yeah,
businesses or opportunities are. There is actually one other revenue generating option that I didn't mention, and that would be um, starting a physical or e-commerce storefront.
right,
We
right,
do
right,
see
right.
people do that as
Yes,
well. So
yeah,
that's one other thing. Some people will start off just a design studio, and then they say, you know what? We're going to create a little store so people can shop it. It will be maybe a way to sell product and maybe a way to bring a potential client into our doors, and then we capture them as a client as well. So that can be popular. And then we see people sometimes doing e-commerce, which um, it that is such a huge undertaking. I don't wanna
If
discourage
you're
anyone
not sure,
ever.
go listen to my episodes with Shay McGee. Okay, yeah,
Yes.
because
Oh, yeah,
it's like
yeah,
I listen, I get that it coordinates and it has overlap, but you may as well start a car dealership. It's a
yeah, you're
completely
start
different business.
exactly.
It
It's
has
a
different
completely
profit
different.
margins, it has different marketing, it has different employees, it has different tech.
Yes.
It is literally the only thing at the end is there's a sofa involved in both. That's the only
Mhm.
thing that overlaps. But
Yeah.
you should this isn't me discouraging you. This isn't me saying what nah, I'm just saying why?
Mhm.
Why? Like when I
Yeah.
started the podcast, right? The why was I knew I was looking at the brick wall of selling window treatments. I was like, girl, you are not interested in debating, a half inch off the floor on that drape versus a quarter inch. You are very close to telling every designer that asks you which one it should be, like a whole inside voice scathing of, you're out of your mind if you think I care and if you think I can deliver the difference between a quarter inch on a 10-foot drape. Stop.
Mhm.
Right? Like, what are we
Mhm.
doing here? You're being ridiculous. And 5 years ago, I had a whole lot of compassion for that ridiculous conversation, and I don't now. And I see the wall where I'm going to talk in inside voice when you ask me that crazy question,
That's
right?
funny.
It's like, but
Mhm.
so the thing is for me, why was I starting a podcast? It was I was creating another business that I could do on the
Mhm.
side that I knew would have revenue, that I would do X amount of things, not like just talk out into the internet for 5 years and wonder if I made a dollar bill doing it. It was like there was a business plan behind it, and
Right.
the bottom line for me and the way that Vin was like, "Okay, I'm on board with this," was because my why at the end of it was all the things I wanted. But I also said to him, "And if none of those things happen, I believe this will be a revenue generator for WindowWorks. I believe
Mhm.
that. I also have taught somebody behind me to do what I did so that when I create the revenue for WindowWorks, I don't have to be there to execute on that. I have
Right.
filled that spot. I've taken the last 10 years to teach somebody to be me so I can move out and do this other thing. And if I don't become a speaker, if I don't become an author, if I don't get paid sponsors, if I don't any of that stuff, it will at least make more money for WindowWorks. And if I have to keep selling blasted blinds and drapes, I will.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I mean, I think though that is the point is
Right. It's a plan. It
if you wanted and the other truth is if you want to um do the book or apply to be on TV or whatever it might be, I mean, you can do that
yeah.
as well. And your reason doesn't have to do with revenue. It doesn't have to.
Right.
You just
As
have
long
to
as
be
you're
able to
clear.
acknowledge.
As
Yeah.
you're gonna give up revenue in the design firm that's already running because you're gonna take time away,
Mhm.
and if that's okay, that's
Yeah,
okay, right? Like,
exactly.
yes, people have free will, they can do what they want, but it's
Yeah.
funny because I'll meet designers that will, for example, wanna go on a TV show, right? Or even start a podcast, and so but the TV show is geared towards maybe the DIY consumer, and I'm like, so how does that get you more consumers for your design business if you're a luxury designer, right? And there might be a path just to notoriety. It might be,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
need you to think about it. Don't
Right.
think it just happens. Or you're going to
Right.
do a podcast teaching interior designers how you started your business 5 years ago and you're profitable. So are you eventually going to be a business consultant for the design space? Oh, no, I love designing. Oh, okay. So how does that get you more clients for your design business? Great for the
Right.
PSA over here for all your colleagues, but how does it tie in? Right? So
Yeah.
that's what
Mhm.
it is. It's like all of these different ways, these diversifications. It's, what it is? Designers understand when consumers, Corey Damon Jenkins was on the show, right?
Mhm.
Last time, a couple months ago. And he's just said this story again when we were live at High Point in October 2025. He wears this, did you hear this story? He wears this
No. Uh-uh.
like a brooch, a pin, a
Yes.
lapel pin, and it's an old-fashioned key, like one of those really old-fashioned keys that you wriggle it around, right? And it's brass, it's beautiful, gold, whatever it is. And he says he wears it because typically on the first consultation, a client will admire it. They'll say, "Oh, that's a beautiful pin. Is there a story behind it or whatever?" And I'll be like, "In fact, there is a story behind it. This is the key that I use to open a box and lock away ideas that we're not going to use." That we're gonna put in the box. And I'm paraphrasing, you have to listen to his episode
Yeah.
because I'm sure he says it much kinder. But basically, what he explains to his clients is all along the process, you're gonna come to me with this idea and you're gonna say, "This is the best wallpaper I ever saw," or "This sofa I really love." And I'm every once in a while, I'm just gonna look at you and say, "Well, we're gonna just grab that key and we're gonna take that idea and put it in the box." Because what he's saying is right now you think that sofa is a great sofa, or you think we need to move that wall, or whatever it is. But
Hmm.
you're not playing the same chess game I'm playing. You don't see 4 steps ahead. And I
Hmm.
already know that that sofa is the wrong sofa, but you don't have the benefit of the design plan that I've got in my head. And at the same time, I don't want to sit here for an hour and debate with you about this idea that you've got that I know I'm never going to do. And when you have the full advantage of the whole process unfolding in front of you, you're going to say, "Oh, yeah, I don't like that idea anymore anyway." But we will have wasted all of our time and energy, me trying to be polite, you trying to convince me for something that's never going to happen. And in my mind, that's the same thing when somebody says, "I want an e-commerce site," or "I want to do a TV show," or "I want to do a podcast." I just want to take that idea and go, "Give me the end game on that idea." And if you've got
Hmm.
it, great. But if you
Yeah.
don't, take that silly idea and put it right back in a box and go make money doing the thing you're doing. Are you looking to build an exceptional team? Our hiring toolkit bundle at luannigara.com/store is your comprehensive source for success. Craft compelling job descriptions, know the right interview questions to ask, and implement a thorough evaluation process so you get the right person. These were developed in collaboration with my cousin Eileen Hahn and based on her 40 years of experience in building exceptional teams, plus my insights from 1,000 plus interviews. Our toolkits are tested and proven. Whether you're scaling from 1 to 3 or from 3 to 10 or from 10 to 20, the Hiring Toolkit Bundle provides the guidance that you can use to plan your hiring strategy effectively. Go to luannigara.com/store and invest in your success by investing in the success of your team.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, there should be a reason for anything we do, even if it's just to have fun, right? Like
Yes.
that's acceptable. That is always
Yes.
acceptable. But you've got to know what
100%.
your reason is, or else you might find yourself really locked into doing things that you're thinking, "How did this happen?
Yeah.
How did we get here?"
It's
And
not vetting the idea
yeah,
enough to know, right?
yeah,
Like a license, like we both know many people that have licensing deals. And
hmm,
I've had conversations with many of them on the show. You know,
yeah,
it's exciting. I mean, my God, you
hmm,
walk into High Point and your face is plastered all over, Fazy or, Leloy or whatever it
yeah,
is, right? Like it's amazing, right? But
yes,
it's like one licensing deal does not you know, dramatically increase your revenue so that, you can say no to 10 clients this year. If
hmm,
you do one licensing deal because it was interesting and it was fun and it's a collaborator that you love, a showroom, an entity, if you tell me that it was an opportunity that came up and I said yes, great. And I
yeah,
didn't like cripple my firm and lose my actual pay the mortgage money while I did this. Otherwise, the other thing is, oh, I want to be like Libby Langdon and I want to be like Nate Burkus and I want to be like
right.
Tom Felicia and I want to have 15 dozen licensing deals. And now that all those little pieces, they chunk up to a revenue stream that is
They
should
sure
be paid
can.
attention to.
Absolutely.
But they also have lots of infrastructure behind them to keep the design machine moving.
They do. Yeah, well, I think that you're nailing everything here. I mean, there is a reason why certain designers, I mean, Corey's a great example, have shows, have books, have all of these things that I've been almost saying aren't a good idea. No, they
No,
can
no,
be.
no,
They can
no.
be a
Yeah.
great idea. They can be so good for so many reasons. But when we're first thinking about diversifying our revenue streams in a meaningful way, in a kind of lowest hanging fruit,
Yep.
sort of accessible, I can control it kind of
Mhm.
way, they're just not the places to go.
Right.
But once you've said, hey, we've got our whatever it's going to be, we've got our storefront, we've got our two locations, we've diversified our services, whatever it is that you choose to do, we've created the business that we're really happy with, and we found a couple ways that feel right to us. We've stayed in one place, we haven't added, more locations, we don't have a storefront, but we've changed some of our services and fee structures and so on. That can work, whatever it is. And now I think I want to pursue having some licensing deals, or I want to give it a shot.
Yep.
Sure, like
Yep.
there's no reason not to do those things.
100%.
But yes, when you have a certain level of recognition, and you suddenly have brands coming to you, there's an opportunity to build, right?
Yes.
And so there are designers who say, well, I need to build my brand so that we're recognizable enough that I then can move into that space. Sure, you can give that a
100%.
shot.
Right.
It's going to be so much work,
Yep.
and you've got to be prepared to put those hours in, because man, you are now running multiple businesses, and you've got to be where you've got to be when you've got to be there, and you don't get to just work from your office or your home anymore. You literally are going to be on planes and traveling. It
Yep.
gets intense, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you, again, it's like eyes wide open.
Yeah.
Go into it knowing what you're going to do. So there's a place for all of these things. There are money making places for them. There's like just general career fulfillment. There's that kind of delightful pat to the ego moments, for some of these. I've enjoyed those.
Undeniable.
I
Right.
there's
Absolutely.
have fun with them. Absolutely. And then there are, maybe you got a chance to speak on a panel, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I want to add speaking to what I do. I want to go to a conference a quarter and get paid to speak. And how do I build that up? There are so many little things. And it can be a matter of, hey, this is fulfillment that I want to also have be somewhat revenue generating.
Yeah.
Or it can be like, no, this needs to be a significant contributor to the company. And so you just need to know what you're
That's what it
looking
is.
for.
Just
But
why are you doing it? Right. Just have
yeah,
the whole cold, hard conversation with yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that we have a lot of times when people start thinking about diversifying, they are probably, if they're using words like diversifying, then they're probably thinking about their business itself. And maybe they're thinking, um, we need, residential's been kind of soft this year, and I sure do wish that we had more commercial projects. I don't really want to get into furniture fulfillment. I don't want to deal with that, but I would love to be designing for both residential and commercial, because when one market is soft, the other
Other
tends to
one.
boom, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. Or gosh, I know that I'm working in a growing city right now, but I sure do wish I had a little bit of work in a more established city, because bubbles burst,
Yes.
and it would be nice to be in an older city that's not growing. It's not going to be maybe as sexy all the time with these big projects coming in, and all this, all these transplants coming in and all this cool stuff to do, but the work will be maybe a little steadier there
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's established. Or, there are things like that that are worth considering. And when it's time to do that, usually what I would recommend is looking at what's coming naturally already. What is
Mm.
coming naturally already? I have, or where your interests are. So we didn't just say Austin's booming, so we're going to open in Austin. We said we're doing 5 projects in Austin right now,
Yeah.
or we have
Hello.
over the last
Without
2
even
years.
trying. Right.
Yeah, these just keep popping up. We should probably think about why and figure out how to build something out there. And it was messy. It was so messy. It's not going to be this perfect. Now we have a whole office, we have a whole team. It's fabulous, but it started off with a whole lot of plane trips, and we had a team of designers in Minnesota who every month had to fly down to Austin, and there were 3 designers, and every month 2 had to fly to Austin. So that meant it was like 2 months on, 1 month off. Now
Wow.
they weren't there for the whole
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
there for, a week, or for whatever the projects required. But that's a lot of travel.
That is.
And that's a lot of cost,
I was
right?
just
Like,
gonna
how
say
do you
that's a
build
lot
that
of
in?
operational expense for the
Mhm.
mothership. Yes.
It sure was. And so figuring that out, and then eventually getting to a point where we had established design teams. How do you have an established design team in a location that doesn't already kind of know how your primary location works and runs and isn't tied into that?
And
These are
doesn't go
these are
rogue
real
on you.
questions. Yeah, these are real questions. And
Yeah.
what does this mean for you? How often you might, there are some designers out there who kind of snowbird. They have an office, it's open for so many months of the year, and then they have a couple contractors who sort of finish up what they started, and fingers crossed. And then there's, established offices, and you're traveling back and forth, so you have to consider those costs and benefits.
Yeah.
And maybe you do want to do more of that, like commercial and residential diversification. That can be a really good way to go. So how are you going to get into those commercial projects?
Mm.
Do you have all the certifications that are going to make you more appealing? How are you going to break into it if you don't have that background already? What are some kind of smaller boutique type projects you can do to start building out your commercial portfolio, to start building into a more robust commercial
Mhm.
portfolio?
Mhm.
Do you have, like, are you doing your business development? Are you bringing someone in to do your business development? And if you are, what does that look like on the residential versus commercial side,
Right.
and on and on? So they're just kind of, they're questions that you have to start asking yourself. But before you get completely overwhelmed by all of these types of questions, what you really start looking at is, what do I want to do?
Right.
Like, what do I actually want to do? What does the business need? Where is its vulnerability that I'm trying to shore up by diversifying? And then what do I want?
Mm.
And that want tends to lead pretty naturally to what you should do, or where are my clients already taking me?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you don't hate it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
then go in that
yeah.
direction. If you do hate it,
Yeah.
ask a couple questions first.
Right.
But I think that we um, it every time we try something new, we benefit from not knowing how hard it's going to be. Because if you knew how hard it would be,
Good
you
point.
probably wouldn't do it. You really probably wouldn't. And you'd probably say that about starting the business you've already started, right?
Right,
Like,
right,
you
right.
wouldn't have done it
Yes.
perhaps if you had known how difficult it would be. But at the same time, it's why you really want your kind of desire to do that thing to lead you there,
Mm.
because it will be difficult and you're going to make mistakes, and the path will not be clear cut. You're going to be figuring things out as you go. And so there has to be a real kind of passion to do that thing. Um, and and that's going to help
Mm.
generally. But I will say, I just cannot emphasize enough, when you do go to try something new, you cannot ignore or forget about or neglect your core business.
Yes.
Your core business is so important. And no matter how buttoned up your operations, your team, everything is, you can't walk away from it
Mhm.
unless the business is actually set up where you can literally walk away from it for months at a time
Yeah.
and return. Unless it is set up specifically for that and has been battle tested and
Exactly.
works,
Battle tested
you
is the key. Yeah.
you've got to still stay present in the primary business, because it you when you go to diversify, and we learned this the hard way. When you go to diversify, you will learn immediately what isn't buttoned up in
Yeah,
your
where
core
the gaps
business.
are in the
Mhm.
original business, where its
That
leaks
business that
are.
you think is just locked so
Yep.
hardcore in,
Yep. Yep.
when you're suddenly gone because you're focused on some other things, wow, will you find out quick
It's the
what
truth.
goes wrong when you're not there, because they're so and it's not because you don't have great processes, great teams, great everything. It's because there's so much kind of invisible work that you
Yeah,
do.
that you just
um
instinctively are covering o over the course of a day, a week, a month, a year that
yep.
isn't written down and it isn't
Hmm.
enunciated, it's just handled, whether it's by you or
Yeah.
upper level team people, but when you are distracted on another passion project that might eventually be a profit project as well, to your point, there's the gap right there. It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, no,
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Yeah,
that
and
I
we
actually make
discovered
that
those. We
decision 3 days a week without telling
Exactly.
anybody."
Exactly. Yeah, we found it is a great practice, though. I mean, I say this kind of as a joke, but it is kind of a great practice in getting your business extra buttoned up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
you will be like, "Oh, well," you just have to be ready. Be
Yeah.
ready, because those things will come up. And if you can, try to think ahead to them, but you can't think of everything.
No,
Some things will just, I mean,
yeah,
every day you've got something that is
yeah,
kind of a surprise, and that won't go away just because you're focused on the new thing.
exactly. I would say, the roundup of all of this is that if your why is to make more money
Hmm.
and That's it, period. That's my number one my. I wanna bring more value to my family, my lifestyle. I want more freedom. I want more, dollar bills. I wanna be able to share it with people. I wanna be a philanthropist. Whatever it is, as far as what the money will do for you, then you've gotta be very clear on, maybe it is through your services, to your point. It is like,
Mhm.
what are the ways to make more money in doing the core business that I'm doing? If it's, I want to be internationally or nationally known, if it's these other things, I want to add that, I want to do the licensing and stuff like that, then I get it. Like, they don't necessarily, the big companies don't come to, you know, Mary Doolittle from, Podunk that nobody ever heard of and say, "You're great. You want a licensing line?" I get it. You've got to
Mhm.
have some cachet, some following, some social presence, some whatever, email list, blog following, whatever it is. So if you're spending your time away from your revenue generating activities, creating that social presence because the other carrot is there, the other goal is there, great. But if you're doing any of those other revenue, those other diversifications, that first list, the shows, the books, the podcasts, the licensing, without the connection to why, then that's just, you're just spinning your wheels and you're just taking your
Yeah.
money away. It's funny because I remember Regan Jane was on the podcast a couple of times, but her second podcast, I said to her, because I met her the first time for the podcast years ago and totally fell in love with her, obviously. She's just,
She's lovely.
she
Yeah,
is.
she's so
She's
great.
really,
Yeah.
and she is the, a lot of people are lovely, but like not running a good business. Like, and there was
Mhm.
conversation there. I was like, something's going on here in the background and behind the eyeballs that's making sense to me. Right. And when she came on the second time and she was talking about the new things that had developed in her career since the first time she was on the show, all of a sudden I heard it in my head. I was like, "Oh, did you plan this?" Because sometimes we plan it, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes,
Mhm.
like when I started the podcast, I didn't plan on Luann University. I had lots of
Right.
things that I planned on. I planned on the books, I planned on the speaking, I planned on the sponsors, I planned, there's 20 things that I planned on, but I never heard Luann University in my head. Never said, "Oh, platform for teaching interior designers the business that no one teaches them." That was not on the plan. So, my
Mhm.
thing is there are really worthwhile things that we do that I know we don't plan on that become like Austin came for you and
Mhm.
Dallas came
Mhm.
for you, right? Doesn't mean they're any less valid. But all of a sudden I was like, wait, like, did you see this path? Because something that she said. And then she was like, well, and she said yes. And she broke it back how when nobody knew who she was, the thing that she did. One of the things stuck with me, what she said was, when she decided to become a designer, she created blog content for her website for a year before she launched the website because her
Wow.
plan wasn't to grow small and slow and steady while she did design work. Her plan was to splash and to
Mhm.
be an entity. And then when I started relating it to the different things, the TV and the books and all the other things that come along, she was like, no, no. I can't tell you that I've known everything I've wanted to do from what day one, but when I have the idea for the next thing, I sit down and I figure out what's the path to it. I don't just turn
Mhm.
around. I'm going to make up words now. She didn't say these different things, but it's not like I just don't start showing up on Instagram every day talking about nonsense because at some point I might want to have a book and I want Rizzoli to know who I am. It's like, no, 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 no. Right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It was like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's interesting and fun because Shay McGee the same way. It's like, certain people feel like overnight successes, and there's nothing overnight or accidental about 99% of them, you know?
Yeah. No, that is entirely true. There's a lot of planning. Even yeah, even the Austin thing. It's
Yes.
like, yes, the opportunity like presented itself, but
You didn't open up
there was
next day,
a
get a lease, and here we go.
no, there was a plan. There was a plan that was put together. It was step by step. It was methodical, and we still made mistakes and got better as we went. And Faye and Bell was the same thing.
Yes.
We started an area rug company at one point, and this is another something that people can do. We at the time we were really enjoying designing custom rugs. Um, we felt like we wanted a little bit more control over pricing and timelines and whatnot, and so we thought we were going to create this for ourselves.
Yep.
Now we have lots of designers who order fan bell rugs. It's a completely separate company. It has a completely separate team. It sort of grew legs that we didn't anticipate, but but it also served exactly the purpose we wanted it to, which it gave us control
That's
over
right.
what we wanted. And because we created it for ourselves, it had to be excellent. And so then when designers would come to us and say, "Well, could I order these rugs?" We were like, "Oh, well, I guess so."
Yeah.
And it's the sort of thing that now we do have designers come to us, and so it has kind of grown. It's a totally separate thing. But that that
I just
starting
wanna say
point.
there, that's a great
Mhm.
example of the why was solid even though you had no idea where the ultimate thing was going to go. We don't have to
Mhm.
know why, we don't have to know where being on HGGV, I can't even ever say those letters together, will go. We don't,
Yeah.
right? But the
Mhm.
why has to be solid to begin with. And that's a perfect example because Fay and Bell was
Mhm.
created because for your design firm, you were not getting the niche in the quality and the access to the rugs that you wanted. So you
Yeah.
created the path to doing it so that it was profitable for your firm. It made sense for your designers. It made sense for O'Hara Interiors. And then it was like, oh, wait, this could be available for other designers. Okay. But it's not like, well, let me just tell my friends they can call the office and order. Then it became, okay, take the step back, organize it.
What's
What
the
does that
plan?
plan look like? Right.
Mhm.
So there is
Yeah.
a nuance in when I keep saying the why, it can change and it can grow, but it
Mhm.
starts with some clarity on some ROI. And to
Yeah.
your point, you've said it twice and I don't want to skip it again. And sometimes it just will be enjoyable. I mean, I think
Mhm.
less times that's the answer. And if you're kidding yourself because that's the answer, well, then I would say, like you always say, look a little deeper. But
Yeah.
there are some things that are just fun to do. Well, I mean,
Sure.
just it's funny because I one time did a 46 mile bike race in
Mhm.
Vegas. And Minnie was like, "Why?" And I'm like, "I don't know, why not?" like,
Why not? Yeah.
it's not a business thing, it's not a thing, but you know what? We gotta fly to Vegas. I gotta rent a bike. I got like it wasn't like you just show up. There was a lot of planning that went into it, but really it was just a personal development thing. And so
Yeah.
there are those lanes in business too, not to say that there aren't, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There absolutely. I mean, I like one example would be when I started doing speaking engagements.
Yeah.
I That was purely for the fun and ego of it.
Yeah.
Like I liked the idea of standing up on stage and getting to talk. That sounded great to me. I wanted to give it a shot. It served no particular business purpose. And I mean, I'm being really like honest about that. It just seemed like a fun thing to do, and I kind of like the idea of it.
Yeah, and you're
So,
good at
but
it, and we all benefit from it.
well, thank you. Thank you so much. But what I found, I thought it was just going to be a one-off. I really thought this is just going to I'm going to feel good about having done it. I'll be able to say that I spoke at a conference and never again. But what I discovered is that in speaking at conferences, the connections that I would make, there were tangible benefits that came from doing this thing that I hadn't originally anticipated. And so it became something that I was like, oh, well, I might do this from time to time. Now, when I go to speak somewhere, now when I go to do something, there's a
There's
reason
a
that I'm
process
there.
behind it that you actually who are the other
N-
speakers? What are the connections I can make? What's the process for
Yeah.
following up afterwards, right? Not just like
Mhm.
fly in, do it, and leave, right?
Right. So it sometimes the thing that starts just as that fun thing to do or just that kind of ego boost that, feels good can actually make you realize, oh, actually this serves a purpose I just really probably should have considered, but I didn't even really anticipate. And so it becomes something that can become part of your rhythm or routine. And sometimes you're like, well, that was fun.
That's it. I did
And
that.
and now I'm done.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, there
Yeah.
have been those moments as well.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like that really is. But yeah, I when I'm talking to my team and we have a large scale objective, something we really want to do. Maybe we're diversifying revenue streams, could be one of them, or maybe it's some other objective altogether. What I always say is, because we'll put together the list of everything we could do, everything under the sun, and we'll do all sorts of exercises. We might put it into a grid of, you know, lowest to highest like possibility of success, lowest to highest like workload to get it done,
Right.
like what's going to be
Effort
difficult,
to
what's
get
going to
it
be
done.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's kind of the effort scale and the revenue scale, and things that are low effort but high revenue, let's
Yep.
look there first.
Yep.
Like let's go over in that direction. There aren't many things that are
No.
in that quadrant, unfortunately.
Unusual
Yeah.
quadrant. Yes.
Yeah, those don't usually land. But we'll look at things like that. We'll look at all sorts of things. But what I'll often say to my team is, start when you look at the things that we're when we get to the short list of the things we want to pursue. I we always do two things at once. We go with the lowest hanging fruit, the thing that's most accessible to us or that we can get done that feels good, even if it won't have the bigger result.
Yep.
And then we get started on that bigger result thing, which almost always is going to also take a lot more work. So just, we just chip away at the thing that's going to take longer and be more effort, while we get the little wins that
Yeah,
are
the
just
quick wins
easier
along
to
the way.
achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think diversifying can be that kind of that way too. When you start thinking about, that new location, yeah, you probably have a list of builders or architects or people that you really want to work with, but you also need to get busy immediately. And
Yeah.
so how are you going to do
Yeah.
that?
That
Or when
aspirational
you
builder architect. We're going to work on that all year long, but we need a project this month. And that might have to be
exactly.
Bob down the block. Right.
Exactly. And that works with diversifying services with so many things.
Right.
So I would really encourage people to consider where they might be able to diversify. It might be a big way, and it might just be in a little thing that could make a measurable difference. A 5 or 10% increase in your revenue that might not have come, in a year's time is potentially worth pursuing if it's
Exactly.
something available to you.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So good. So many good ideas, some things to think about. We are going to link in the show notes, the Corey Damon show and the Bregan Jane show and the Shay show, because these others have all contributed pieces of insights to their
Hmm.
personal experience on these individual ways that they have diversified and things that they've done. Even like Jean Stouffer when she was here, right? Talked
Oh,
about
yeah.
how she went into the cabinetry and all that stuff at that point, and of course now the TV show and stuff like that. So there's just so many opportunities, and I think our only real big, message is just vet them. Just don't
Hmm.
just chase it to chase it. Have it make some sense. And it can be aspirational. It can. Nobody's saying you can't be the next, whoever they are, but have some path and have some reason for doing it, and make sure your original business, core business is locked down as much as it can be, right?
Yeah, that one's important.
It is. It
I
is.
will I will I will hammer that one home. We
Exactly.
don't want to lose track of that. That's where things really can fall apart, and
Mhm.
and nobody wants that.
No, no. Well, thank you, my friend, for being here. Always appreciate your insights.
Thanks, Luann. It's always fun.
These conversations with Kate are some of my favorite podcasts, and this one has got its place right there at the top of the list. Here's what I want you to take away: diversification is not a plan, it's an experiment. Kate said it. Every moment of diversification is an experiment. That means you do not stake the whole company on the outcome. You test it, you watch it, you measure it, and you decide whether to keep going or walk away. Right? But before you run any experiment, you have to protect the core. Kate said this too, and I do not want you to underestimate it. When you go to diversify, you immediately see what is not buttoned up in your core business. Been there a time or two, okay? The invisible work you have been doing, the things that live in your head and not on paper, the gaps your presence has been covering. Those will surface fast, my friends. So before you chase the next thing, make sure your original core business can run without you glued to every blasted second and decision. All right. Next, Kate said, get clear on your lane. There are revenue drivers, expanding your services, adding furniture to a construction-based firm, moving into commercial alongside residential, opening up a second location. These are moves you can price, staff, and scale. They have a clear path to ROI. And then Kate talked about the visibility plays, books, licensing, TV, starting a podcast, speaking. None of them are bad ideas. Many of them are outstanding ideas, but they are often PR activities first. The money, if it comes ever, tends to come later and slower than you probably want it to. If you do not know which lane you are in, you may be very disappointed by the results and sitting there just saying, what happened? Okay. Now, Kate also talked about something her team does that I think is worth stealing. When they are ready to pursue something new, they work two tracks at the same time. They go after the lowest hanging fruit, the thing most accessible, the one that can produce a quick win, while simultaneously chipping away at the bigger, longer play. The quick win keeps the momentum. The slow build creates what's coming next. You do not have to choose between them, and I loved her thinking on these things. And then you measure revenue, time invested, strategic value, alignment with your why. Put it up against your mission, vision, values, right? When you find something is working, double down. If it's not moving, it's not working after a reasonable window of time, cut it off. Say no, right? That is not a failure. That is a lesson learned, and that's how a CEO makes use of the lessons learned, right? Now, I also want to point you toward a few episodes that will make everything we talked about today maybe hit a little closer to home, maybe give you some ahas in addition to these. These are designers who have lived a version of this conversation, and each of them has something specific to share and teach you within their version of this. So start with Corey Damon Jenkins, episode 388. Corey has built one of the most intentional, multi-layered brands in this industry. I mean, honestly, right? Books, furniture lines, speaking, editorial presence, the master class. I mean, all of it constructed with purpose. And in that first conversation, he broke down exactly how he thought about each move. If you want to understand what it looks like to build a brand that opens doors, that's a great place to start. Then go to Bregan Jane, episode 967. Bregan did something most designers do not do. Before she launched, she decided what she wanted her brand to become, and then Bregan built the path toward it. I remember asking her that specific question, and her answers blew me away. That episode is about the mindset behind a well-planned vision, and it will shift how you might think about your next move. Then we have episode 1131 with Tom Felicia. Tom has held multiple lanes for decades, design, product, television, and he's never lost thread of who he is in the process. If you are wondering how you build something multifaceted without getting pulled apart by it, then take a listen to Tom's episode. Also, Shay McGee, episode 1099. She's been here multiple times, but go to the episode 1099. People often look at what Shay has built and think overnight success. I can tell you there is nothing overnight about it. Not one bit. This woman has worked, and she has planned, and she has strategized. This particular episode is the honest look back at how she constructed an empire decision by decision. And if I've had a nickel for every one of you that said, I want to be the next Shay McGee, then if you're one of those people, it might inspire you and ground you at the same time. And then, finally, the Nate Berkus episode. He's also been here a couple of times, so I'm talking about episode 1141. 30 plus years in this industry, a new book recently, and a conversation about what the long game actually looks like. If you are in this for the long game, for the distance, then I think you'll like this conversation with Nate. All of these episodes are linked in the show notes. And then finally, we created a goodie for you based on Kate's advice. It is the Diversification Decision Map, and it walks you through Kate's framework step by step so you can apply it to your own business. Go to luannniagara.com/goodies. Typical, the goodies are free, right? You just go. If you've already signed up for goodies, you just go to your login on my website and get your goodie. If you've never done it before, you're just going to go, you're going to create a login, and then all the goodies are there for you. All right. Last thing before I go. You've heard Kate many times on this show. And if I had a nickel too, for every time somebody says, oh my God, I love the shows with Kate, I'm like, I know, she is such a hashtag smart lady, right? She thinks clearly, she tells the truth, and she shows up for us in the design industry by telling that truth, by saying, here's what it really takes, but I know you can do it also. She doesn't hold anything back. And so what I'm so excited and thrilled to tell you is that Kate is a board member in my newest business venture, my newest diversification lane, the Boardroom for Creatives. And here's what it means for you. You know that problem that's been sitting on your desk for weeks, the decision you keep revisiting, the thing you cannot see clearly from because you're too far inside of it? Well, maybe you don't need another podcast episode about it. Maybe you need the right person looking at the problem with you. And that is exactly what the Boardroom for Creatives is. A private 50-minute session with a vetted expert I have personally selected, someone who has already solved the problems you are facing. You come prepared. You leave with a decision. Kate is one of the board members in the Boardroom for Creatives. This just launched. In the previous episode to this, I give you the full outline on what the Boardroom for Creatives is. But, just because Kate and her mother closed O'Hara Interiors doesn't mean you can't ask her design questions. I don't mean like what sofa to use. I mean how to scale your team, or how to have a hard conversation with an employee, or how to do pricing. You know what? It's all there. Go to the boardroomforcreatives.com. All right. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go listen to the previous episode where I explain it all. All right. All of the links are in the show notes. All right. Thank you, Kate. Love your guts. Gotta say it. Absolutely adore you. Like that brain of yours, just every single time, just amazes me. And thank you tons for showing up and listening today. I appreciate you. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Niagara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannniagara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.